it is in the center of the racetrack. The Adel Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem, and he's pulling away. He's got another gear. Yeah, the Swiss they come in the Derby. Wheel away takes command. Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle's Blue of 1976.
We are just 1 week away from the post position draw, and the likely participants continue their final preparations for the greatest 2 minutes in sports. It's time for the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show, presented by TwinSpires.com. Another beautiful morning in Louisville. Clear skies, track is fast, temperature in the low 70s. Let's take a look at the headlines. In his second work since joining the barn of Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen, Max Player looked a solid 5 furlongs and 59 3/5 Monday morning at Churchill Downs, third last out in the Travers. Tyler Gaffleone was named to ride Dr. Post in the Kentucky Derby, presented by Woodford Reserve for trainer Todd Pletcher. Dr. Post most recently third in the Haskell behind Authentic. Top Kentucky Oaks contenders Swiss Skydiver and Speed scheduled to arrive at Churchill Downs and backstretch here today. Kevin Kerstein from the media department will give us an update on some of the other arrivals. Joe Christopher joined by Ed DeRosa. Ed mentioning the post position draw for the Derby. 1 week away, we're getting closer and closer. Looks like we'll have 20 horses, most likely, but even if it's not quite 20, but a big field, how much will that post position draw mean to you when it comes to handicapping?
Well, Tiz the Law is unquestionably the favorite, regardless of where he draws. I think he's the one we're most interested in. His only loss was on this track, down inside. Everyone's talking about him being inside of some of the logical contenders. Would not be the most ideal post. So if he were to draw 1 or 2, I could see that being a big negative.
Ed DeRosa and I have a great view of our monitor here on the set. Social distancing, of course, here on the balcony at Churchill Downs. But a man with a better view, and he needs it to evaluate these workouts, is Brandon Staubel on the 4th floor. Brandon, another gorgeous morning and doing what we love to do.
Good morning, guys. Beautiful morning up here on the 4th floor. We're keeping an eye on the contenders, and yesterday we just had a little bit of action, and you'll see as we lead up to the Run for the Roses the fact that some of these contenders will be shipping in late, and we'll get a few looks at their gallops, but the ones that are based here we'll take a look at, we'll give our impressions, and hopefully we'll find a couple of prices underneath or maybe even the winner.
Well, thanks, Brandon. Lots of workouts for him to evaluate over the course of the show here today from New York, California, and elsewhere as we take a look at the Kentucky Derby leaderboard. Tiz the Law on the top of it. King Guillermo, who we should see back on the racetrack again today. Dr. Post mentioning that rider assignment to Tyler Gaffleone. Todd Pletcher with the most starters in the history of the Kentucky Derby. Ed, again, a little bit of a top-heavy Derby here.
For sure. I would expect those 4 at the top to be unquestionably the top 4 choices, with Tiz the Law being unquestionably the favorite. And as we look at the second page, Joe, I think this is the latest I can remember where I'm actually expecting more additions at this point than subtractions. I have to think they're going to try to hustle a few more in to get 20.
A little bit later on in the show, we'll have a simulated race workout for Shirl Spite, 0 points, but one that could be a factor in the Derby, a perfect 2 for 2. Let's take a look at Max Player's workout from yesterday in company, and we'll send it to Brandon for his thoughts. Brandon?
Yeah, Florent Giroux up on Max Player here, and he started 2 lengths behind the workmate Engaged, who is a maiden, so that's something to keep in mind while you're watching this work, and you'll see Florent just kind of giving a little bit of nudging here. He wants to get somewhat even at the quarter pole to make sure this horse has a bit of a target and then can go past the mate here. There's that big red pole, the quarter pole, and you can see Max Player still kind of grinding a little bit, so to say, so Florent's going to get after him a little bit. He wants him to really finish up here. We know from his races that Max Player typically does his best running late, so you would expect to see the same thing in the mornings, and really we did in this work. You can see Florent still kind of nudging on him. Near the line, he really gets busy in here, under instructions to make sure this horse gets a good gallop out. You can see he sticks a head in front there, and Florent really gets after him on the gallop out. He flags the stick, he hits him on the side a little bit. He really wants him to finish up in here, get that much-needed stamina, and really to get more comfortable over the surface.
Max Player, his second workout for Steve Asmussen yesterday, and again, The notable win was the Withers, but he's been really good since coming back off of the layoff in his last couple of starts, and he certainly belongs. He's going to be finishing late.
No, he absolutely belongs. I'd love to know from Brandon, though, if he'd rather bet Max Player in the Derby off that work or a ledge in a maiden race. Coming out of that would be interesting since they worked in company. But, yeah, no, he absolutely belongs. And I have him ranked 5th. He's going to be on my tickets underneath the logicals at 20 or 30 to 1.
Steve Asmussen has had this horse in his barn for the last couple of weeks. Interesting to see what he thinks of the workout from yesterday.
Extremely happy with it. I thought Juan did a wonderful job on the leader with him to break off some nice steady pace. Hit some solid 12s in the middle. Love the focus that Max Player showed through the wire. Continued on, and his gallop out was extremely impressive over this racetrack. I think that the idea was just to get him familiar with the surface, and I think that you can tell the difference between his work this week and last week, that he has definitely taken to it.
Max Player was $150,000 RNA Keeneland September 2018. I bet the connections are happy that they kept him. The Dam is a half to $1.2 million earner international star, who I believe was supposed to run in the Derby and scratch the week of the race.
Yeah, he swept the races down at Fairgrounds that year for Ken and Sarah Ramsey. And again, I'm sure George is very glad to have this one instead of selling for $180.
The horse, Max Player, is certainly going to come from off the pace. And another one that's going to do so in the Derby is Major Fed, a locally based horse trained by Greg Foley. And he's had a lot of bad luck during the early stages of his career. Still good enough to be second in the Risen Star and most recently second in the Indiana Derby, Ed.
And that was a good second. I mean, he was running strong at the end. Obviously, he passed some tired horses going a mile and an eighth, but he was running. It wasn't just picking up the pieces. I know the connections were disappointed they couldn't get the W after that trouble, but they were pleased he ran his race, and then they decided to give him a bit of a freshening instead of another prep ahead of the Kentucky Derby.
We have Greg Foley here at Churchill Downs standing by on the backstretch. And Greg, it's great to have you here. I know the day for the draw in the race couldn't come soon enough. And Major Fed, let's talk a little bit about his career so far. Mention some of the trouble that he's had. Certainly has been an interesting road to the first Saturday in September.
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me. Yeah, he's had some tough trips for sure. His maiden race, January, New Year's Day, everything went well there and ran a very nice race, finished up good, galloped out great. And then their timing-wise, non-2 didn't come up quite right for us at the fairgrounds, and the Risen Star was coming up, so we took a shot in there, and again, we didn't get away terribly great in that race, and came running and ran a great second to Billy Mott's horse. Then we went into the Louisiana Derby, and he was in the one hole that day. And as they rang the bell, he turned his head to the left and got dead left. That just, I don't know, he was 7-8 lengths behind the next to last horse going into the first turn, but came running. I thought he ran a terrific race to run fourth. And we had a tough trip here in the Mount Win. We're in the 12 hole, whatever, and I don't know, he was out past the middle of the racetrack the first turn and wound up running a bad race, and you just mark that race out totally, which he did. Come back in the Indiana Derby, and he ran a good race. Again, got squeezed at the start, way out of it over a tough, muddy racetrack. I thought it was favoring speed that day, and James said we got bumped. He was picking up horses quickly from made a big move from really the 5-8 pole to the 3-8 pole, and he kind of lost his momentum right there a little bit. And that's where James said Winter actually hit him and knocked him sideways. He said you couldn't really tell the way the camera work was there that day, and claimed foul and that, and was disallowed, and should have been from what you couldn't see any more than what you did. But he finished up good and ran a big race. Ran hard. It was hot that day. I thought he was tired after that race. It's really the first time I'd seen him tired, but just from the tough trip and the heat, and that's why I skipped the Ellis race. I just wanted to have him good and fresh for this race next week.
And Greg, Ed DeRosa here, and
Yeah.
it seems like, at least from your son's social media, happy with the way he's been training here, coming in off the freshening, and being by Go Sapper out of a Smart Strike mare, guessing you're not too concerned about the 1.25 miles.
I think he'll love the 1.25 miles, the distance. I think definitely in our favor. Just hope they go fast up front. We'll be coming from behind for sure, and just turning down that lane, the quarter pole, hopefully in the clear, and picks up some big pieces.
I'm guessing you don't want him all the way last at the quarter pole, though. You're hoping he's made a move by then.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a better break and get up in the race. This horse, he's not a slow horse. He's just he's had some bad breaks at the gate, and in some decent position. He can't, especially these kind of horses, he can't spot them like that and think you can win. Yeah.
We have a quick question from Brandon Staubel as well. Brandon?
Hey, Greg, Brandon Staubel here.
Hey,
I just wanted you to talk real quick, kind of the hometown horse, so to say. Can you just talk about how special it is to have your two sons basically here with you every morning on the backside?
Well, it is. They're really excited, and I am too. It's such a different deal this year with everything going on. But yeah, it's neat to have them here with me, and they're very fired up, and we just hope we run good.
Well, Greg, we thank you for your time. Now, rumor has it that your son Alex can be bribed with Woodford bourbon, okay? You bring out Major Fed early in the morning every morning. I know it's part of your routine, but how about a little bourbon to start bringing them out at 7:30?
I will see. We'll work on that.
All right, Greg, we appreciate your time, and we wish you the best of luck with the next week and a half of training and the draw for the Derby and the run for the Roses. Got to be very special for you and your family. Thanks, Greg.
All right, Jill. Thank you.
Greg Foley, everybody. We're going to switch gears from Major Fed and take a look at some of the horses that have been working recently in New York and on the East Coast. And we're going to start with Caracarro. And this is a horse that I find very interesting. We talked about the Venezuelan connections with King Guillermo. Venezuelan connections here as well. And Ed, this is a horse that has improved, speed figure-wise, with every start.
Yeah, he had that long layoff into the Peter Pan, and I probably would have liked him more that day if not for that long layoff, and I think that's what ended up costing him the victory over Chad Brown's horse. He was second in that race and then ran into the buzzsaw on the Travers and was certainly no match on the win end for Tiz the Law, but was best of the rest in both races. Maybe that won't be good enough in the Derby to be best overall, but another one of a few that I think are going to be in that 15 to 20 to 1 range, Joe, that have a bigger shot in my mind than some of the shorter prices. I'm excited to play this horse if he comes in the right way.
He had a workout on Saturday at Saratoga, did Caracarro, and we're going to let Brandon Staubel talk us through it. Brandon?
Yeah, you can see him on the screen here. He's going to work solo, and they actually got some rain, a nice big rainstorm right before this, and Tiz the Law was actually scheduled to breeze this day too. They moved his back till the next day, but Caracarro here, you're going to see nice work in here, I thought. This horse wasn't really on the radar for me as much, but after watching this work, I really like the way this horse moves, no wasted action, and he's kind of, I think, going to be a little bit of a sneaky price horse coming in. You can see he's approaching the quarter pole here. That's that big red pole that we talk about. And watch the ears on this horse at the quarter pole. Those ears are just pricked straight up, telling me that he's doing this very easy. He's very alert. He's waiting on his command, and you can see him switch leads right on cue and put that right front out there. And he stays very low to the ground. I like to see that. One thing is if the track comes up a little bit sloppy, you can see that there's some mud there. We talked about the rain that came, so kind of gives you an indication maybe that if we do get rain here, he'll be just fine. He kind of skips right over it. And nice stride to the wire. He kind of, I don't want to say drops off the bit a little bit here near the wire, but you can see him slow a little bit. And then the rider kind of gives him a cue to go ahead and gallop out. And I thought that was interesting in here. He kind of grabs the bit again here on the gallop out and continues on and actually gets stronger. I thought this was a really nice work and one of the better works that we've seen on the video.
Yeah, I agree. If this somehow happens to be an off track, I would think that horse would love it, just keeping over the ground. From Caracarro to Dr. Post mentioning that Tyler Gaffalione is going to get the mount here for Todd Pletcher. And Dr. Post, his signature win so far in the Unbridled, but a really good race in the Belmont and a deceivingly good sneaky race, I thought, in the Haskell.
not bad in the Haskell. I'm not sure say if I'd be that bullish on it, but he was coming out of the Belmont where he ran really well, and whatever happened in the final eighth in the Haskell, I don't know, but it was not a way that Dr. Post was going to win from where he was. I think you called it a form-darkening line race, and I agree with that. And I think this horse is being overlooked. I've taken some lumps for ranking him fourth in my Derby top 10, Joe. Not saying he's the fourth most likely winner, but he is the fourth horse I'm most excited to bet.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I like him as well. Let's take a look at the workout from last weekend, not this weekend, but the previous one. And Brandon, Dr. Post on the inside here. Tell us why and talk us through it.
Yeah, one thing we like to watch we like to look at when we're watching works is not only the jockey intent, but also trainer intent as well. So it's noticeable that he puts Dr. Post on the inside here, and I don't have, I would say, months and months of experience watching Dr. Post train. But for me, after watching this work, and watching his races, he does seem like maybe a little bit of a one-pace sort, kind of just keeps grinding, and that's what I saw in this work in here. You can see on the inside, and if you watch the rider's hands, the rider's elbows, they're always kind of just niggling on this horse and trying to get this horse to kind of keep into the bridle and keep into the bit and keep company with the mate. Now, the mate on the outside is no slouch either. That's Basin on the outside, who was transferred to Todd Pletcher from Steve Asmussen. So getting some good company there on the outside, maybe a little bit of a quicker horse designed to keep this horse on the inside focused. And you can see even down the lane in here, this horse kind of just looks like it's kind of going up and down through the motions. But once we get close to the wire, this horse kind of grabs the bit again, and then around the turn is actually kind of sticking ahead in front. So interesting drill in there. I think if I had to kind of get in Todd Pletcher's head, I'm guessing that he put Dr. Post on the inside to keep this horse focused. So you can expect probably in the Derby, and you can see in his races, more of that one-pace style, just kind of keep coming at you and keep coming at you.
Dr. Post with that work from a couple of weekends ago, and yeah, kind of a grinding horse that should like a mile and a quarter, and a horse who's been super consistent. New York Traffic, a $27,000 RNA, first fall out of the dam, who is 1 for 2. Not a lot of quality in the pedigree, but just goes to show you that a good horse can come from anywhere.
No, absolutely, Joe. And we've seen that time and again, obviously at every level. Last year, a maiden claimer was first under the line in the Kentucky Derby and disqualified, but they can surprise you for sure. This one would surprise me on the first Saturday in September. We've talked just happenstance. The horses we've talked about today I've all liked. This is one I'm a little more against, coming out of that runner-up effort in the Haskell. It did come back fast. A little bit of an illusion for me. Again, that final eighth, he looked hopelessly beaten. Then he looked like he might catch Authentic on the wire. Just a little too weird for me, and that stuff doesn't work in this type of race.
All right, tapping on the gas pedal just a little bit. This is a horse that is trained by Sappy Joseph, his first Kentucky Derby starter. Workout from 2 weekends ago. Brandon, what do you see?
Yeah, you can see, I've seen New York Traffic train a little bit, especially some of the works down in South Florida, and this horse is a pretty good worker horse in here. You can see the rider's got a really stout hold in here. One thing about a speed horse, you don't want to let him go too fast early. You don't want to let him run off, so to say. So he's got a nice hold of this horse, trying to get him to relax a little bit because, look, we're going into the Derby. This isn't going to be a 6 or 7 furlong race, 1.25 miles, so we got to be able to harness that speed. This horse has shown the ability to harness that speed, but it's things like this in the mornings where the trainers relay to the riders, and the riders understand not letting this horse do too much early on. They want to make sure they save something for the finish in here. You can see the mate get even on the outside, but he really hasn't moved his hands on the inside, and you can kind of see he's kind of tugging him a little bit. They'll hit the quarter pole here, and still got a nice tug. They'll come a couple of paths off the rail. Sometimes they will do that, not working too close to the rail because they don't want to get too fast of a time. You just saw him check the watch there, and that's something that we'll talk about too as we get closer to the race. But riders will check the watch to make sure they're not going too fast or too slow, and you can see he sticks ahead in front. He's still got a lot of horse in here. The outside runners, what I call a competitive team drill in here, he's put ahead in front as well, and they'll gallop out on even terms. I thought this was a really solid work.
New York Traffic, minute and change, 2 weekends ago at Saratoga. And speaking of team drills, got the ultimate team drill coming up for you in just a minute. Let's take a look at the credentials first of Shirl's Spite. A perfect 2 for 2 coming into the Kentucky Derby. We saw Justify, an undefeated horse, win the Derby a couple of years ago and the Triple Crown. Did win the Marine Stakes. Out of the family of Lady Shirl, one of my favorite Illinois breds of all time. This one by Spitestown. Let's take a look at the workout, Brandon. And this is something else. You sent this to us via email the other day and gave me the impression that you wanted to talk about it. So here you go.
Yeah, I love stuff like this. I mean, for being out here in the mornings and watching horses train, I think especially for the young ones, the 2 and the 3-year-olds, that the fact you can get them to simulate somewhat of a race or just have them learn how to pass horses, know what to do, change gears, so to say. But Roger Atfield set this team drill up. Pretty cool drill in here. You've got 2 horses in front of him. You've got 1 on the side. So basically what they're doing here is trying to simulate a race. You can see that the horse is into the bridle, trying to get him to relax a little bit behind horses while at the same time taking dirt. So he's taking dirt from the 2 horses behind, and then he kind of feels that other horse on the outside to him. So he's feeling that pressure, and that's something, sometimes it's hard to simulate in the mornings in here. So you can see that he's making a little move now up the rail. The other 2 have got out of the work, and then he picks up 2 more in front of him in here. So just like a race, like the Kentucky Derby, we see all the time with those head over views where horses will kind of shift inside, and you're showing the ability to change gears in here. So he's got 2 more horses that he kind of picked up in front of him. He's still got that horse behind, and you can see they're going to start kind of asking him a little bit. Now, this was a mile workout in here, so also you're getting the benefit of the stamina. And you can see in here he's going to start moving a little bit. And that horse behind him kind of dropped back, and he'll kind of get out of the way as well. And then once they hit the turn here, he'll ask him a little bit. He wants him to finish up, and you'll see he kind of actually splits horses in between. The outside horse went to the side so he could come through the middle to simulate what it would be like in an actual race when maybe a horse lugs out or gets tired. And then the rider's going to go ahead and ask him here, but this was something you just don't see very often. Well orchestrated in here to give this horse experience. You can see him shaking up now. Wants him to finish up. The horse has to be a little tired. You would think he's going to get a ton out of this, not only from experience but fitness as well.
8-time Sovereign Award-winning trainer Roger Atfield. Only 1 starter in the Kentucky Derby way back in 1995. Add quickly a comment.
Absolutely a legend is Roger Atfield, and want to tell everyone that workout at Woodbine was on their dirt training surface.
Right.
So their main track is Tapeta. That was on the dirt.
Right, and this horse has only run on turf and Tapeta in 2 lifetime starts. Okay, obviously you can see that Ed and I social distancing. When we're not on the set, we are wearing our masks, following all safety protocols here at Churchill Downs. In the TV department, on the backstretch, we're doing interviews. We're taking absolutely all precautions, as you can see here. And, we're going to have different trainers come on for interviews and just making sure that everybody's safe.
We want to be safe. We want to get everyone to the race safely. I'm sure there's no one here who wants to be sitting at home watching this on September 5th. But for those of you sitting at home, Twin Spires is your place to bet. It's
been a challenging 2020 for everyone, particularly our media department here at Churchill Downs. The best in the country, spearheaded by Darren Rogers and Kevin Kerstein, his right-hand man. And Kevin's going to join us now. And Kevin, this is a Kentucky Derby like no other for sure. First of all, your thoughts on what's been going on over the course of the last few months to even get to this point, and then want to talk about some of the arrivals. I know Swiss Skydiver Speech supposed to arrive today. The big question is whether or not Art Collector is going to be here today or tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's certainly been a roller coaster ride, that's for sure. And so, over the last couple of months since the pandemic started back in March, it's really been, ups and downs all along the way, and so we can't thank the fans enough for sticking with us through all of this. And, we're 11 days out from the Kentucky Derby, and it's going to look different this year, obviously. And, hopefully things will start keeping improving for next year, and things will be even different next year and even better. So, but it's going to be setting up for one heck of a race for the Derby and the Oaks, too. You mentioned a couple of the arrivals that are supposed to come in today. There's a plane from New York and also a plane from California that'll get here today. Swiss Skydiver and Speech you mentioned for the Oaks supposed to be getting here today. Rushy is supposed to get here from San Diego at Del Mar later this morning. You're also going to have Art Collector, who will van over here from Skylight. People are very excited to see him. He is expected to have one more local work here over the track. Then you're going to have your next flight from New York come on August the 30th, which will include Caracarro and New York Traffic, as well as Sole Volante, who's coming in a van from Florida. Then the big horse comes on August the 31st, and that is Tiz the Law, the favorite for the Kentucky Derby, arguably the biggest favorite since 1992 coming here to Churchill Downs, so everyone will be excited to see Barkley tagging Tiz the Law. And also coming on the 31st will be Bob Baffert's contingent of Authentic and 1,000 Words, along with Honor AP, probably your likely second choice in the race.
Kevin, you've been out in the mornings for quite some time now. Definitely encourage everyone to follow you at Horse Racing KK. Great content. When did this, for you, start to feel in the thick of Derby season over the last couple weeks? Usually we're talking about it in mid-April when Keeneland starts. How about this round with the race in September?
So really for me, it goes from different waves of emotion. And so it goes from the stressful time where we're trying to plan everything and get everything ready for the Derby, for the media coming in. There's so many unknowns, as we've known since, months ago, of getting ready for the Derby. Now for me, I'm sort of in the emotional stage because, some of my best friends are in the Derby this year with the Foleys. And so you're having so many of these storylines that are finally coming together with 11 days out. And it's just really exciting and special for me to be here and be a part of it. And especially knowing all these people who work their entire lives to get here to this first Saturday in May. And, it's almost here, and the preparation has almost come to an end. And just seeing all the hard work that goes through it, you're sort of, now I'm in that emotional stage, but it sort of goes in waves of the different emotions between the stress, the anxiety, and now the emotional phase. And it's we're going to get there, and it's pretty exciting that it's almost here.
No question.
I would thank Kevin Kerstein for his time. And Kevin's going to go from that emotional phase to that, what am I going to do with my bankroll phase? Because
I like that phase.
Yeah, we all get into that phase as well. Looking very forward to the first draw of the upcoming September season. For opening day, September 1st will be this coming Friday. Okay, don't forget you can ask social media questions via all of these social media outlets. Marianne in the Netherlands, Lori in Nebraska, Romeo in Manila, Larry from Alberta, Canada. So many people watching from all over the world. Huge viewership in Venezuela as well. And if you have a question, no question is a bad one. Please ask us through those social media outlets, and Ed and I will get an opportunity to answer as many of those as we can. Coming up next here on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show, more live action as the horses hit the track live. We'll be back in just a few.
With over 200 flavor notes to discover, every sip of Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show. Again, a picture-perfect day here. We can only hope that it'll be the first Saturday in September that Mother Nature once again smiles upon us. Looking very forward to the draw for the Derby on next Tuesday and the Oaks the day before. We do have some social media questions coming in. Again, people watching from all over the world, if you have them, please send them to us. Tia Menard on Facebook asking if Gamine is coming on August the 31st with Authentic, and I believe the answer to that is yes. Obviously, people anticipating these Derby arrivals, but a lot of people anticipating the arrival of Gamine.
Yeah, we talked about Swiss Skydiver and Speech for the Oaks today, but Gamine is definitely going to be a big presence and talking point when she arrives, not undefeated by virtue of the disqualification, but certainly sparkling in her last two efforts.
Gamine, the winner of her last two starts by a combined 25 lengths, both of them grade ones, and had some great promotions going on at twinspires.com. They sponsor this show. I say they, we sponsor this show. We kind of sort of sponsor ourselves, but man, is that the look of an expert who does nothing but give out the goods.
Well, I heard Gus Alonso wanted too much money for us to use his mug, so he had to go with me. Looking forward to doing the expert picks for Churchill Downs. Several others of us, plenty of other tracks on offer, Ellis Park this weekend, but really looking forward to Churchill Downs. It's all in the app, and it's free.
Certainly is. We'll have more on some great promotions at twinspires.com on the website and the app, as we move forward. But right now it's time for the live training session. Again, if you're new to this show, new to the Derby in general, this is what happens. So we have a 15-minute training period, and it's Necker Island. We'll see him and a whole lot more in just a few moments. We'll be right back.
With over 200 flavor notes to discover, every sip of Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show, and the first appearance of this beautiful Tuesday morning is Necker Island, trained by Chris Hartman. The Connections, Ed DeRosa, claiming this one for $100,000 on June the 13th, and I think has probably exceeded their expectations, running third in the Indiana Derby and third in the Ellis Park Derby, earning enough points, and honestly, he's on the grounds earning his way into the Derby.
Absolutely. You finished third in the last two preps leading into the race. Sometimes that's not enough points. It is this year, and definitely don't mind them trying. I actually liked him quite a bit in the Indiana Derby, so no reason to think he doesn't belong here at a big price, and eager to see what Miguel Mena is able to do aboard this one.
Eager to get Brandon Stauble's thoughts on Necker Island. Chris Hartman has said, and his plans could change, that he's not going to work Necker Island between now and the Derby. That will be 4 weeks in between starts. Ellis Park Derby was on August the 9th, ran third. Brandon, what does that tell you about the horse? What does that tell you about the trainer?
Well, I think that's important to consider here is who the trainer is. I know Chris Hartman will, from what I've seen in the mornings, will be a guy that will gallop horses into races. He won't really give them the stiff 59s that you might see like a Bob Baffert or somebody give like that. So, he knows the horse, and this is what he wants to do. I mean, I would say that it's maybe not ideal in my opinion. I mean, you don't really see it that often, but that doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do for this horse.
Also stepping out onto the racetrack is a horse that's been here now for a few weeks, coming off that 4-month layoff between the Tampa Bay Derby and the Kentucky Derby. Ed, that is King Guillermo, and you've gone on record on Twitter that this is a horse that you're certainly against. A lot of people that have seen him train recently would like to argue with you.
No, they're bullish, and 4-month layoff comes from the Arkansas Derby. When
Arkansas Derby,
second
yes, right.
to Nadal. But nevertheless, a layoff that I'm not overly thrilled with, but he certainly caught the eye, to borrow Brandon's expression here in the morning. Some of that probably just local bias with him being one of the few we're able to talk about with him being on the track, but the talent's clearly there, and we heard from his owner, former Major League All-Star Victor Martinez yesterday, and you love the enthusiasm he's bringing with the excitement he has for being at this race. So easy horse to cheer from an emotional perspective, but I'll be cheering against with my dollars.
Breaking news from Christina McManigal, and we thank Christina. She's standing by the gap with Chris Hartman, and Chris heard what we were saying about the horse not working leading up to the Derby. The horse is going to work. Necker Island is going to work.
How about
this
that for
weekend.
breaking news?
So yeah, thanks to Christina for that tidbit of information, and apologies to Chris Hartman for that. Again, King Guillermo, $90,000 RNA, didn't reach the RNA at Keeneland September yearling, sold privately for $150,000 at OBS April as a 2-year-old in training. Most of the siblings raced overseas with marginal success, but with plenty of stamina. The Dam 0 for 2, but a half to slow pace, who was a 10-furlong graded stakes winner on turf, and former Pat Day Mile winner, Funny Duck. We remember that horse lighting up the Toport a couple of years ago. So there's King Guillermo for Juan Carlos Avila, Victor Martinez, the former baseball player, and the Venezuelan connections. A couple of Brad Cox-trained horses on the racetrack right now. The Oaks duo, She Dares the Devil, Ed is a go. Bonnie South, waiting some information on her. Chances are that maybe she'll skip the Oaks and go in the Spinster instead. Timing 4 weeks between races the availability of the timing leads me to believe that she could run in both. And if Bonnie South does run in the Oaks and there's an honest pace going 9 furlongs, I really like the way she finished in the Alabama behind Swiss Skydiver.
No, it's hard not to like her as a potential to pick up some pieces, especially knowing how Gamine is. I mean, she has nowhere to go but the front with her brilliance early. I don't like her as much as you do, admittedly, but certainly she has earned her way in, and if the barn decides that the Kentucky Oaks on September 4th is in the cards for her, she's absolutely one of the major contenders behind the top two. But it is interesting to see how these trainers are going to plan out their late summer and fall, Joe, because you mentioned the Spinster at Keeneland, and then a month later, also at Keeneland, the Breeders' Cup Distaff.
Right, so the 3-year-olds will be taking on older horses at both of those races, and She Dares the Devil by Daredevil. Man, what a first crop sire Daredevil has been with her fillies, with his fillies, I should say. Swiss Skydiver, probably the second choice in the Kentucky Oaks, and She Dares the Devil, who's been remarkably consistent at the winner of the Honeybee. Came back and was a good third in the Fantasy. I know got beat 13 lengths, but had a ton of traffic trouble. Then the last 2 races at Churchill and Indiana, a winner by a combined 11 lengths. Now, she's not facing the top tier horses in the division, but who she is facing, she's dominating.
Absolutely. I was against her at a short price in the Indiana Oaks, and certainly made a mockery of that opinion. Much the best there. Brad Cox, pretty stout with the 3-year-old fillies, as he was last year when he had Covfefe and a few others. Monday Call went to Ellis and blitzed him, going 7 furlongs in the Audubon Oaks. So he's got all the distances covered. This one's certainly capable of going longer. I've liked what I've seen, and now if you're a believer, you're finally going to get your price.
Brandon, your opinions on She Dares the Devil and Bonnie South? Brad Cox Barney won this race a couple of years ago with Monomoy Girl.
Yeah, guys, you talked about the timing and the 4 weeks, and I think that's what makes these top trainers so elite, is that they know when to push the button and they know when to back off. So probably why, and I don't want to speak for Brad, but probably what his thinking is that he's going to wait and see how she trains, how her energy level is, and then make a decision from there. I can tell you from what I've seen in the mornings, really the past 3 or 4 days, that her gallops have been outstanding. She's showing a lot of energy. She's into the bridle. She's pulling a little bit, but not too much. And I really like what I've seen from her. Very professional. She Dares the Devil is one that had a really nice work the other day, 6 furlongs, and the best part of the work was the finish, which you like to see, especially because of her style. You like to see that she's still finishing well in there. And he's got a pretty tough little 1-2 punch in here. Obviously, they're going to have to step up their game a little bit, but you can see Bonnie South on the screen here. I've just been pretty impressed with her energy level coming back.
There's a look at Bonnie South. We saw She Dares the Devil just moments ago as well for trainer Brad Cox, who won the Kentucky Oaks with Monomoy Girl, and she's slated to race here on opening week as well for all of you Monomoy Girl fans out there. Back to King Guillermo, Brandon, and I want to stay with you here. This is a horse that had a monstrous work on Saturday, 58 and change. Then he comes back on Monday after a walk day Sunday and looked a little stiff on the track before he got into his jog. He's probably going to do a little bit more this morning as he continues to progress off of that big workout into this coming weekend.
Yeah, he came and backed up here to about what we call the maybe about the 7.5 pole, so right around the first turn in here. And we talked about it on the show yesterday. Look, not every horse is going to gallop like an American Pharaoh or a Justify. Some horses just aren't the prettiest gallopers, but he gets the job done in here, and you can see he's hitting decent behind. He's got that neck bowed. He's got the ears up. Rider's got a long hold in here. So it's all about, when we're watching these works, when we're watching the gallops, it's about getting to know the horse in here. And you can see changes leads right there in his gallop, and he's got his head down. He just looks pretty happy out there, and he'll probably let him run a little bit, not run a little bit, but he'll let him open up just a little bit near the wire. And every day that we get closer to this next work, he's going to let him do a little more, and that's the same with most of these trainers out here. They're going to let him open up a little more. They're going to start to feel better. We talked about yesterday the fact that when we have a workout, we go to the gym and have a workout, a tough one, we're going to be sore the next day. It's the same thing with the horses. They might be a little tight behind. They might be a little sore. You know, the neck might be a little sore. But every day what we want to see is them get a little better. We want to see them develop every day and move forward up into that next work. And you can see as he passes right in front of me, he seems to be hitting good behind. And that's just him. And we've got to know him. He's been stabled here for a little while. And this is what we're going to see leading up to the race. Didn't see anything to knock today, and after that big work, I expect him to continue to move forward. And if he doesn't, then that's something we want to pay attention to.
As fate would have it, Paco Lopez rode Chance It in the Tampa Bay Derby, opening the door for Sammy Camacho, who had never been on the horse before, but now he has his first Kentucky Derby mount. So congratulations to Sammy for that. Bonnie South on the racetrack here, along with She Dares the Devil for Brad Cox. And Ed, again, we've talked about Bonnie South being a horse that really likes to finish. And what I found interesting with this horse is Brad Cox put the blinkers on her earlier in the year, and that normally sharpens a horse's speed, gets them more in the race. But with Bonnie South, they learned that this horse wants to be taken back. She wants to just run on her own, and she wants to finish when asked. She is a deep closer, and for a dirt horse that likes to go 9 furlongs, she has an amazing turn of foot.
She does. She was running at the end. Swiss Skydiver was long gone, though, in the Travers Stakes. And both these races are interesting for that reason. You have Swiss Skydiver and Gamine in the Derby, and then mostly Tiz the Law, in the Oaks, mostly Tiz the Law in the Derby. They've sort of asserted their dominance already, and really it is sort of these deep closers where you think, okay, maybe if others go with the favorites early, this is the one that can be the one running late at a nice price. And Bonnie South certainly fits for Brad Cox, and one of her targets might be She Dares the Devil.
She Dares the Devil, a $100,000 weanling, but was a $20,000 Keeneland September yearling R&A. Then broke the maiden at Churchill last year and sold in the November Horses of All Racing Age sale for $280,000, and has certainly panned out. Half to the graded stakes place sprinter Mojovation. The dam was 1 for 8, an average family, but Crafty CT, an $800,000 router, another generation back. And again, Daredevil with his fillies, Swiss Skydiver and She Dares the Devil, has been a fantastic first crop stallion. Necker Island is up next. Again, we reported this earlier via Christina McManigal on the backstretch, standing by with Chris Hartman. Brandon, that this horse will work this coming weekend. So I don't know if that was an audible, was always in the plans, but I think that's a good sign that the horse is at least going to get to stretch his legs out a little bit more than he has been in recent days.
Yeah, it could be just a little derby humor from Chris Hartman, maybe just kind of playing around with us a little bit. But no, I mean, that's good to see. I mean, like you said, if you go into the Derby 4 weeks without a work, I mean, it does, looks a little suspicious. So the fact they're going to breeze is good. I'm happy for them that the horse is doing well, and will be a little bit of a price in there, but does have a little speed, and they're certainly going to get their opportunity as long as everything goes well. This
horse that at least has performed well here at Churchill Downs has had 4 starts here with 2 of the victories. In fact, both of the career wins have come here. And I remember when this horse won in September to break the maiden, came back in November on the 30th, and I needed this horse to complete a ticket that was paying pretty well, and did win that race by a nose. So Necker Island doesn't owe me anything.
Well, he'd really not owe you anything if you somehow get him home in this race. He is going to be a big price. Wanted to note he's by Hardspun, and it seems like this Derby and even the Oaks, with you mentioned Daredevil being the sire of 2 of the contenders, seems like a heavy flavor from the 2010s of Derby horses who have gone on to sire Oaks and Derby horses this year. Daredevil competed. Hardspun was the runner-up to Street Sense back in 2007. Uncle Mo and Quality Rhoda represented. They scratched out of their derbies the week of. It's just interesting to me how the sort of cream that rises to the Derby week top gets represented by so much progeny this week.
Only Enforceable and Necker Island have had as many as 10 starts leading into this Kentucky Derby. The only horse with that much experience to win since the year 2000 was California Chrome back in 2014. As you get a good look there at Necker Island, we will now take a look at King Guillermo, who obviously is a fan favorite in Venezuela, as is Caracarro. And King Guillermo with the unorthodox way of getting to the Derby. At this horse, after they won the Tampa Bay Derby, was going to rest until the first Saturday in May. He ran on the first Saturday in May. It wasn't at Churchill. It was at Oaklawn, and he ran a very good second that day behind a Doll, who who at that point was one of the leading Triple Crown contenders for trainer Bob Baffert. King Guillermo, we haven't seen him in a while, training well leading up to the race. Obviously, there's a couple of different sides of this fence you could be on.
People love the work for sure, and he sort of, for whatever reason, got the reputation. His maiden win was a gate-to-wire blitzing, but really since then he's just sat right off and ran on well, passing horses. I thought the Arkansas Derby was a good race behind a horse who, when right, if he had gone on with it, easily would have been one of the favorites for this race in the Bob Baffert trained Nadal. But just the layoff is what concerns me most. Certainly nothing that we've seen in his last two races concerns me, but it's just a long time to come into this race.
Again, since 1929, only 2 Kentucky Derby winners have gone into the race off of more than a 6-week layoff, let alone 4 months. There's Necker Island, again on the racetrack, $100,000 claim. And, when you go to a yearling sale, Brandon, or you go to a 2-year-old in training sale, there's horses that'll sell from all different kinds of price ranges, from 10 grand upwards of $2 million, right? So if you're able to claim a horse like Necker Island for $100,000 and they run in the Kentucky Derby, not a really bad purchase price for this one.
No, I mean, you think about the people that spend, like you said, millions of dollars, even, $400,000 or $500,000, and sometimes maybe they don't even win a race. So they have a proven horse here that they maybe have been paying attention to the way he was training or looked at his races, and they like something about it. And kudos to the guys who stepped up to the plate and put the $100K up there, because now they're being rewarded.
Horses are exiting the racetrack, as you'll see. Dozens and dozens of horses now entering the track for open training time here at Churchill Downs. Again, the designated time from 7:30 to 7:45. And we got some social media questions, Ed, that we want to get to here again. People watching us from all over the world. Jerry from Facebook asking what we think of Art Collector. Kevin Kerstein mentioning he's supposed to arrive today. We should see Art Collector on the racetrack tomorrow. And big fan. I mean, honestly, if 'Tis the Law gets buried in his post position draw and Art Collector gets a favorable post, I might make Art Collector my public selection, as long as he's training well leading up to the race in a week and a half.
Horse has just done nothing wrong as a 3-year-old. Certainly a testament to Tommy Drury, who got him, and he was ready to ship to Keeneland to a different trainer. Then quarantine happened. He stayed up at Skylight near my neck of the woods. Greg Foley, also a fellow Oldham County resident, so big local flavor for me as well. Definitely cheering for both of them. But on talent, hard to deny that Art Collector isn't one of the best in this crop. And 'Tis the Law has proven himself so far to be that. But now we're going to go a mile and a quarter with Art Collector. He's by Bernardini. There's a lot to like for me with this horse. And like you, it's either him or 'Tis the Law for me. There's no other horse I'm even remotely considering making my top pick.
Lots of stamina on the dam side. You mentioned Bernardini, dam side of the pedigree, great for stamina as well. And we mentioned Twin Spires earlier. Chantal Sutherland, who's going to be joining us here on the morning workout show in the next couple of days and for sure this weekend. She did a great piece with Tommy Drury, and it's available on Twin Spires via Twitter and on YouTube as well, so you'll want to check that out. Some social media questions coming in. How will the weather differ between May and September? I guess that's up to Mother Nature. But more importantly, how does it affect the horses? Is it going to be any difference? I don't think the weather's really going to be much of a difference, but the atmosphere here certainly is going to be.
That's a good point. You hear a lot about schooling and things like that, and jockeys talk about the wall of sound turning for home. That's not a concern at all. It's just not going to be there. So I agree with you. The atmosphere is going to be different. I'm guessing it's still too early to talk forecast.
Yeah, give me a couple more days.
Okay, so we won't mention that. I will say I think the heat is more likely to be an issue if there is heat than any wetness.
Winning Impression came out on the racetrack earlier this morning. We mentioned Major Fed coming out early. Typically, this is Winning Impression. Dallas Stewart 0 for 5 in the Derby, Ed, but had a couple of memorable seconds with Golden Soul and Commanding Curve at monster prices. I honestly liked Commanding Curve when he ran second. Golden Soul, not so much. But Winning Impression, I don't know if he's as good as either one of those two, but Dallas has certainly proven that in the Derby, he can run at least in the money with a bomb.
Yeah, no, he learned from one of the best. If they're right and ready to run, take a shot. Speaking of his former mentor and boss, Hall of Famer D. Wayne Lucas, who's won a few of these. And winning impression, definitely up against it when you look at the numbers and what he's accomplished. But again, there's a lot of spoils that go with being on the board in a race like the Derby. We've seen Dallas, I won't say perfected. He's not second every year, but he's in the mix, and he knows how to get him here with a long shot.
One horse that should be a major speed factor in the Kentucky Derby is Authentic, the likely pace setter for trainer Bob Baffert. 5 Kentucky Derby wins on his resume, 2 Triple Crowns in recent years. The recent winner, the Haskell, also the San Felipe, and the Sham on the resume. By into mischief out of a Mr. Greeley mare, though obviously some questions, Ed, about the 1 1/4 pedigree.
I have some questions. Definitely don't love that he seemed dull when Honore P blew the doors off him in the Santa Anita Derby. Authentic went on to win his next race. Honore P didn't. A little just concerned about that West Coast form overall, if I'm being honest. And given he's trained by Baffert and coming off a win, no worse than 4th choice, I'm looking to play against.
This horse has been working like 5-6 furlongs every 5 or 6 days. We're going to get the impression from this workout on August the 13th from Brandon Staubel. Brandon, take us through it.
Yeah, guys, and you mentioned the distance and the fact the frequency of the works in here, and that's just the trainer's style. Bob Baffert does like to work them long. He likes to give them 6 to 7 days, sometimes even 5 days in between. But Authentic's going to be sitting a couple of lengths off his maiden here. The maiden front is a horse named Bronn, B-R-O-N-N, conveyance that was privately purchased out of the OBS sale, and is a maiden winner right now. So he'll set the pace in here or be the target for Authentic. And one thing that Bob Baffert he's excellent at, we know Authentic has speed, we know that he has no problem going to the front, but what if something happens and the horse either misses the break or he stumbles or gets into a little trouble? Can he come from off the pace? Well, this is what Bob is doing in the mornings. He's trying to simulate that, teach the horse to be able to pass a horse, and he's done this before in his morning works, even when he was 2, so he's got the target up in there. He just wants to keep him fresh and keep him focused in here, and you can see the rider just kind of takes a little dirt, then he angles him out, and he really extends that stride late in there with little encouragement. And it appeared to me, I mean, I haven't heard from what Bob Baffert said, but it appeared to me on the gallop out that he kind of squeezed him and didn't really want him to gallop out too much in there. I thought this was a good drill. The only thing I would really kind of nitpick about Authentic is I'm not the biggest fan of the way he kind of carries his head. He doesn't really drop his head too much, but obviously he's very talented, very fast, and has a good mind as well.
There's Authentic, and another horse coming in from Southern California is Storm the Court. Unlike Authentic, hasn't been doing much winning, at least lately. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile is the highlight on his resume. Breeders' Cup Juvenile Kentucky Derby double. Well, Nyquist 2015, Street Sense 2006. And this is a horse that you liked after his 2-year-old year coming in to the 3-year-old campaign, but he needs to turn his form around.
He sure does. And, you know, that Breeders' Cup came back fast. Got a good speed rating. Seemed like a race a 2-year-old could develop off of. And the blunt truth is none of those horses have developed. Anu Dior is not impressed as a 3-year-old. Some even haven't run back yet from that race. Overall, it's definitely a sell, and I talked about being worried about the form from Authentic and Honor AP. Certainly the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fits in that concern as well. One name we don't see on there, though, Joe, Jockey. One thing I do like about Storm the Court, one of my favorites, Julian Leparoux, gets the call.
The pedigree, $5,000 yearling, flip for $60,000 OBS April. The dam was 3 for 12. She was a sprinter, not much quality in the family. But if you like Storm the Court, the letter S has won the most Kentucky Derbies, everybody. 19 horses whose names start with the letter S, the most recent Super Saver in 2010.
So the last 2 S's both had S's with 2 words.
Yeah, we don't have any stats on that.
Oh.
Let's take a look at the most recent workout that we have for Storm the Court and let Brandon Staubel talk you through it. And this one's a solo drill, Brandon.
Yeah, working solo here over at Del Mar, and you can see the time there, 5 furlongs, 59 flat. I think this is kind of the norm for this horse, and we talked about getting to know horses in here, a horse that can definitely work fast. And you guys are right, this horse needs to turn his form around. We've seen sometimes these horses that very precocious at 2 and even a little bit into their 3-year-old years, sometimes they're running so hard, it's hard for them to keep that form and continue to step forward as the distance is progressing here. So around it, the turn here at Del Mar, you can see the rider kind of shake up the reins a little bit. He does switch leads, which was good. He does stretch out pretty well down the lane. The thing that I was maybe just a touch disappointed in, and maybe this was just trainer intent, but was he kind of shut himself down, and he's under a little encouragement here, but he kind of shut himself down right at the wire, and there wasn't really much of a gallop out. And you think about where questions on distance in here and how this horse is doing, he kind of just stops here and doesn't want him to do too much. So definitely gets speed out of the work, but I have a feeling this horse could work 59 in his sleep. So just maybe nitpicking a little bit, would have liked to see this horse gallop out a little more.
Trainer Peter's only career Derby starter, Dance with Fate, who finished 6th in 2014. And Ed, pays to watch the Kentucky Derby morning workout show because you get great information from Brandon on the works and what he's seeing from the horses live and on tape. Some reasonably good analysis from you and I. We'll see how some analysis. We'll see how good it is leading into the weekend once we have the draws and how we handicap it and how well we do. But one thing we know for sure, Twin Spires, if you sign up for an account, they're going to give you some free money right off the bat, and quite a bit of free money.
Yeah, not just some free money, but 2 hundos, 2 Benjamin Franklins there, at least on the zeros and ones. You need to use the code, though. It's works money sign. Works 200. I thought they were getting cagey with the dollar sign there. Bottom line is sign up, use the code, get $200, bet some races.
And in addition to that, again, we'd like to thank our friends at the Kentucky Derby Museum for providing us with this great swag that we've got. Dry fit polos from B. Draddy that we're wearing. And if you like them, you can buy your own hats, jackets, polos, lots of collectibles, especially with that May 2nd date. Right? So these are going to be collector's items moving forward. And in addition to the great prices, which are already 50% off, Ed, for watching the Morning Work Show and using that promotion code, Morning Works, all in caps, another 10% off. So great merchandise, and it's going to be tougher to get this year with no fans on track.
And 10% off, 50% off is 55% off. So, I mean, how can you not?
Yeah, that's why we have Ed here on set. He can do that freaking quick math. All right, Ed, so a final thought from today as we go around the horn and wrap up the show.
Well, love Christina back in the mix, even though she's moved to Mutuals, getting us that breaking news, so we know to look forward to a Necker Island work. I'm looking forward to seeing our collector on the track finally, and it's great to be back here. Like you said, let's get this weather in a week and a half.
Looking forward to seeing Art Collector, who arrives today. Also, Swiss Skydiver arrives today. Speech arrives today. We haven't talked much about Speech, but she is the legitimate third choice in a very top-heavy but very good Kentucky Oaks. Brandon, your final thought.
Yeah, guys, same thing. I'm looking forward to seeing more horses here. I thought the connections of the Derby and Oaks contenders that came out on track today have to be very happy with the way they're doing. Each day it's a different day, so we'll just have to see. But I thought today everybody should be happy.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, horses are going to be trickling in, as Brandon mentioned. Art Collector, Swiss Skydiver, Speech. Hopefully we'll have them live and in person or in horse. Is that the way you would say it tomorrow?
Yeah, and some might be taped if they go the major Fed route and come out before dawn.
Woodford Bourbon and Kevin Kerstein's office to try to bribe Greg Foley to bring Major Fed out at 7:30 in the morning. Great guest. We'd like to thank Greg for joining us, Kevin for joining us as well. That's going to wrap it up for the Kentucky Derby morning workout show for today. Again, tomorrow, Tuesday, same time, same place, 7 a.m. for the morning workout show. The Kentucky Derby and Oaks contenders right here live at Churchill Downs. Thanks to everyone who helped make this show possible here today. You see those courtesies at the bottom of your screen. That's going to wrap it up. Enjoy the remainder of your Tuesday, everybody, as we put a wrap on the second day of Morning Work Show from Churchill Downs, historic Churchill Downs, under the Twin Spires, the home of the Kentucky Derby, whether it be the first Saturday in May or this year, the first Saturday in September. Again, that's going to wrap it up. Have a great night, everybody.